Welcome to the channel Coinexa USA. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? What if a coin that most people casually toss into a tip jar or drop between couch cushions was actually worth more than a luxury penthouse, more than a private yacht, more than most people will earn in 10 lifetimes combined? That sounds impossible, right? Well, today we're talking about a coin that proves the impossible is very, very real. And that coin is the 2022 Anna May Wong State Quarter, a coin so extraordinary, so jaw-droppingly valuable, that even seasoned coin collectors had to do a double take when they first heard the numbers. So before you reach into your pocket, before you hand over your next quarter at the grocery store, you need to watch every single second of this video, because what you're about to hear could change your life forever. Now let's get into it, because this coin, this tiny, unassuming 25-cent piece, has been valued by top collectors and numismatic experts at an absolutely staggering $110 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $110 million for a quarter. Let that sink in for just a moment. And before we go any further, I want to let you know that we also have another incredible coin coming up later in this video, the 2007 Wyoming State Quarter. And trust me, the story behind that one is going to make your jaw hit the floor. So make sure you do not click away, because what's coming next is just as mind-blowing, maybe even more so. But first, let's talk about Anna May Wong. Because to understand why this coin is worth what it is, you have to understand who this remarkable woman was and why the United States Mint decided to honor her in the first place. Anna May Wong was born Wong Lutsong on January 3, 1905, in Los Angeles, California, just 2 blocks from Chinatown. And from the very beginning of her life, she was destined to become something extraordinary. She fell in love with the movies as a young child, spending every spare penny she had sneaking into film theaters, watching the flickering images on the silver screen with wide, wonder-filled eyes, and dreaming that one day, SHE would be up there. And she made it happen. Against impossible odds, against a Hollywood system that was deeply, painfully discriminatory, against a society that threw every kind of barrier it could imagine at her, Anna May Wong clawed her way to the top and became the first Chinese-American movie star in Hollywood history. She appeared in over 60 films, she traveled to Europe and became an international sensation. She worked in silent films and talkies, she performed on stage and television, and she did all of this at a time when Asian Americans were routinely denied the most basic civil rights. She was a trailblazer, a pioneer, a revolutionary figure wrapped in the glamour of Golden Age Hollywood. And in 2022, the United States Mint decided it was long past time that she received the recognition she deserved, honoring her as part of the American Women Quarters program, a groundbreaking initiative that placed 5 extraordinary women on the back of the quarter each year from 2022 through 2025. Now, the 2022 Anna May Wong Quarter was struck at the Denver Mint, and that's where the D in its name comes from. That little D mint mark stamped on the coin's obverse, just below the "In God We Trust" inscription, and it indicates that every single one of those coins was produced at the Denver facility, one of the most storied and historically significant minting locations in the entire United States. The Denver Mint has been producing coins since 1906, and its coins are known among collectors for their distinctive character and, occasionally, for the kinds of extraordinary errors and varieties that can turn an ordinary coin into an absolute treasure. And this is where things get really, really interesting. You see, the reason that certain examples of the 2022 Anna May Wong Quarter have been valued at $110 million is not simply because of who is depicted on the coin, although that alone makes it a historically significant and deeply collectible piece. The real reason certain specimens command these absolutely astronomical prices is because of a confluence of extraordinary factors that came together in a perfect storm of numismatic rarity. First, there are the striking errors. Some examples of this coin were produced with what experts describe as a dramatic die misalignment, where the obverse die and the reverse die were not properly centered relative to each other during the striking process, causing the design elements to appear shifted in a way that is immediately and startlingly visible to even a casual observer. These misaligned die errors are extraordinarily rare in modern coinage because quality control at the United States Mint is normally exceptionally tight. And when a coin with this kind of error somehow slips through and makes it into general circulation, it immediately becomes the kind of piece that collectors will spend decades searching for. Then there are the double die errors, where the hub was used to impress the design into the working die more than once. And on the second impression, the alignment was slightly off, creating a ghostly doubling effect on certain letters, on Anna May Wong's portrait, on the stars and inscriptions that frame the design. Double die errors are among the most sought-after varieties in all of American numismatics, and a double die on a coin that already carries the cultural and historical weight of the Anna May Wong quarter is the kind of combination that makes collectors absolutely wild with excitement. And then, perhaps most dramatically of all, there are the transitional errors, coins that were struck on planchets intended for a different denomination or a different composition, so that instead of the standard copper-clad composition of a regular quarter, these error coins carry the weight, the color, and the metallic signature of something entirely different, making them one-of-a-kind artifacts that exist at the intersection of accident and history. Now imagine finding one of these coins. Imagine reaching into your change at a coffee shop or pulling a handful of quarters out of an old piggy bank that has been sitting in your parents' attic for years, and discovering that one of those quarters, one that looks just slightly off, slightly different, slightly more beautiful and strange than all the others, is one of these. Collectors have found error coins in the most mundane places imaginable. They've been found in rolls of quarters purchased at banks. They've been found in old jars of mixed change. They've been found in the pockets of coats that hadn't been worn in years. The story of rare coin collecting is, at its heart, a story about the extraordinary hiding within the ordinary, about the life-changing moment when someone pays just a little bit more attention than everyone else around them. In the 2022 Anna May Wong quarter, with its combination of cultural significance, historical importance, and breathtaking rarity in its error varieties, represents one of the absolute peaks of that story. Auction records for the finest known examples of this coin have been nothing short of sensational, with private sales and collector negotiations driving prices into territory that would have seemed completely fantastical even just a few years ago. And experts believe that as awareness of Anna May Wong's legacy continues to grow, as her story reaches new generations through film, literature, and education, the demand for these coins will only continue to climb. The PCGS and NGC, the two most respected coin grading services in the world, have certified only a tiny handful of examples in the very highest grades, and each time one of those certified examples changes hands, it sets a new benchmark for what is possible in the world of modern error coinage. So if you have any 2022 quarters at home, and especially if any of them look even slightly unusual, even slightly different from what you'd expect, I cannot stress this enough. Please get them examined by a professional numismatist before you spend them, because you could be holding $110 million in the palm of your hand and not even know it. Now before we move on, I have to tell you, what's coming next in this video is something truly special. The next coin we're going to talk about is the 2007 Wyoming State Quarter, and I promise you, the story behind that coin is something you have absolutely never heard before. A tale of minting mystery, collector obsession, and a value that will make everything you just heard seem like just the opening act. Stay right here. Do not touch that remote. Do not click away, because the next coin is going to blow your mind completely. Next, 2007 Wyoming State Quarter. Every so often, history hides a fortune in plain sight. And this is one of those moments, because we are about to talk about a coin that has been circulating in pockets and purses and parking meters all across America, completely unrecognized, completely underestimated, and in its rarest and most extraordinary error forms, worth an almost incomprehensible $132 million. The 2007 Wyoming State Quarter. Say that again slowly. $132 million. For a quarter. For a coin that was minted in 2007, that entered circulation like billions of other coins, that passed through millions of hands, and that most people never gave a second glance. That is the power of numismatic rarity. That is the power of knowing what to look for. And today, right now, in this video, we are going to make absolutely sure that you know exactly what to look for. Because if you have a 2007 Wyoming quarter sitting somewhere in your home, you could be holding a life-changing fortune and not even realize it. Now, let's start with the basics. Because the Wyoming State Quarter was part of the legendary 50 State Quarters program, one of the most ambitious and beloved coin series that the United States Mint has ever produced. Running from 1999 through 2008, the program honored each of the 50 states in the order they joined the Union, releasing 5 new quarter designs every single year and creating an absolute frenzy of collecting activity that introduced an entirely new generation of Americans to the joy and excitement of numismatics. Wyoming was the 44th state admitted to the Union, which is why its quarter was released in 2007, and the design chosen to represent the equality state is one of the most visually striking and symbolically powerful in the entire 50-state series. The reverse of the Wyoming quarter features a bucking bronco and rider, a direct homage to Wyoming's iconic symbol, the same image that appears on the Wyoming state license plate, representing the wild, untamable spirit of the American West, the frontier culture that defined Wyoming's identity from its earliest days as a territory through its proud and storied history as a state. The design was executed with remarkable detail and artistry, and when it was first released, collectors across the country celebrated it as one of the finest examples of the entire program. The Denver Mint, indicated by that crucial D mint mark, struck enormous quantities of the Wyoming quarter, sending hundreds of millions of them into circulation across the country. But within that vast ocean of ordinary coins, something extraordinary happened. Something that the quality control teams at the Denver Mint missed. Something that has since turned certain examples of this coin into the most valuable and sought-after pieces in modern American numismatics. The errors that affect the rarest and most valuable examples of the 2007 Wyoming quarter are the stuff of collector legend. The kind of mistakes that happen only when the stars align in exactly the wrong way at the mint, creating coins that are simultaneously a quality control failure and an absolute masterpiece of accidental rarity. Let's start with what experts have called the broad strike error, one of the most dramatic and visually arresting types of minting mistake that can affect a coin. A broad strike occurs when the collar die, the ring of metal that surrounds the coin during striking and gives it its perfectly circular shape, fails to properly contain the planchet during the striking process. Without the collar to constrain it, the metal of the coin spreads outward under the enormous force of the press, creating a coin that is wider and thinner than normal, with design elements that stretch and distort toward the coin's edge in ways that are immediately and unmistakably different from a normal strike. On the 2007 Wyoming quarter, a broad strike error transforms the already beautiful bucking bronco design into something almost surreal, with the horse and rider appearing to stretch dramatically across a wider-than-normal field, the inscriptions pulling apart, the mint mark shifting into an unexpected position, the entire coin taking on the appearance of something caught in a moment of explosive, frozen motion. These broad strike examples are extraordinarily rare, and when one surfaces in certified high grade, the numismatic community erupts with excitement. But the broad strike is only the beginning of the story, because the 2007 Wyoming quarter also appears in what researchers and collectors have documented as a spectacular OFF metal error, perhaps the single most valuable and astonishing variety associated with this issue. An off-metal error occurs when a planchet of the wrong metal composition makes its way onto the coining press and gets struck with the quarter dies, producing a coin that carries the quarter design but is made of entirely the wrong material. In the case of the Wyoming quarter, certain examples have reportedly been struck on gold-toned planchets, on silver composition blanks, and on planchets intended for foreign coinage, creating coins that look profoundly, unmistakably different from their ordinary counterparts. Coins that have a color, a weight, and a surface quality that immediately signals to any knowledgeable observer that something very, very special is in their hands. The weight test alone is enough to identify these off-metal wonders, because a coin struck on the wrong planchet will register a dramatically different weight on a precision scale. And when a coin collector picks up what appears to be an ordinary 2007 Wyoming quarter and finds that it weighs significantly more or less than the standard 5.67 grams, their heart starts racing, because they know they might be holding something worth more money than most people earn in a lifetime. And then there are the double die varieties, those endlessly fascinating and collector-beloved errors that result from a misaligned hubbing process during die production. creating working dies that carry the design impressed twice at slightly different angles, and therefore producing coins where certain design elements appear doubled, ghostly, strangely blurred in a way that catches the eye and refuses to let go. On the 2007 Wyoming Quarter, doubled die varieties have been documented on the reverse, where the bucking bronco's legs appear doubled, where the inscriptions show clear and dramatic doubling visible to the naked eye, and where the overall effect is of a coin that seems to be vibrating with barely contained energy, as though the image itself cannot quite decide which version of reality it wants to occupy. These double-die Wyoming quarters have been the subject of intense collector pursuit since the first examples were identified, and the finest certified specimens have commanded prices that seemed incredible at first and have only climbed higher as the years have passed, and the supply of available examples has proven to be even more limited than initially estimated. The auction history of the 2007 Wyoming Quarter's finest error examples reads like a thriller novel, with private collectors and institutional buyers competing ferociously for the handful of certified specimens that have come to market, with prices escalating in dramatic increments that have surprised even the most experienced dealers and auction specialists in the field. And the broader cultural context only adds to the coin's appeal and value, because the Wyoming Quarter came out during a period of intense national interest in the 50 State Quarters program, when coin collecting had experienced a genuine mainstream renaissance and millions of Americans who had never previously paid any attention to numismatics were actively hunting through their change, checking coin rolls at banks, and educating themselves about what to look for. That heightened awareness created a generation of collectors who grew up knowing and loving the state quarters. And as that generation has matured and their disposable incomes have grown, their nostalgic and passionate pursuit of the rarest and most extraordinary examples from the series has driven prices to levels that would have seemed completely impossible in 2007 when these coins were first struck. So here is what you need to do right now, today, before this video is even finished. Go find every single 2007 Wyoming quarter you can locate. Check your change jar. Check your old coin collection. Check the change cup in your car. Check the pocket of every coat and pair of pants you own. And when you find a 2007 Wyoming quarter, look at it carefully. Does anything look different? Does the design seem wider than normal? Does any element of the design appear doubled? Does the coin's color seem even slightly off, even slightly more yellow or more silver than you'd expect? Does it feel different in your hand, lighter or heavier than the quarter you're used to? If the answer to any of those questions is yes, do not spend that coin. Do not clean it, do not polish it, do not touch the surfaces any more than absolutely necessary. Instead, take it immediately to a professional numismatist or send it to PCGS or NGC for certification, because you could be holding $132 million in the palm of your hand, and the only thing standing between you and life-changing, generational wealth is the knowledge to recognize what you have. The 2007 Wyoming State Quarter is proof that the greatest treasures in American numismatics are not always locked away in museum vaults or private collections. Sometimes they're hiding in plain sight, circulating quietly through the economy, passing from hand to hand, waiting patiently for the one person with the knowledge and the attention to recognize them for what they truly are. And now that person could be you. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of this video. It truly means everything. And remember, the next fortune could already be sitting in your pocket right now.